This video will demonstrate how to connect a plastic mulch layer to a tractor and also how to lay plastic mulch. Here's a few things to consider when we begin our plasticulture operation. Number one is we should conduct the soil test of the site where we're planning to lay plastic. The soil test results will inform us as to what sort of amendments the soil might need in preparation for planting. And when I say amendments, I'm talking about such things as lime and fertilizer. The next thing that we need to consider is preparing the site itself. We like to have a soil that is very even and loose. When you pick it up, that it crumbles in your hand freely. So to start with, we'll talk about the tractor's 3-point hitch, tractor's top link, which is adjustable to facilitate connecting to the upper hitch point on the layer. These are your right and left draft arms. This is your right and left anti-sway bar, or some manuals will refer to that as your stabilizer. Once the 3 points of the hitch are connected to the layer, they serve to provide stability and resist the tendency of the layer to move either left or right. Your left and right lift arms. So if you're on uneven terrain when you're connecting an implement, you have some latitude as far as raising or lowering that right lift arm. So that's the components of the hitch itself. And as you can see, we have everything connected up here. These two paddle-like mechanisms right here are your center bed fillers. They are in an upright or non-used position right now. You may or may not need them. If we were using them, they would be turned down and those blades would be in contact with the soil. They serve to funnel more soil into the center of the bed, and this helps to create a firmer, fuller bed. A situation wherein you might use those would be if your soil had a lot of sand content in it and it tended to resist being formed and maintaining that shape of a raised bed, then you might want to fill in with those. What we're doing now is we're removing the left and right cover discs. They're not needed in the bed shaping operation. If we left those on, they would just be funneling soil up and over our nice, clean, beautifully formed raised bed. So we're going to remove those just for the purpose of making a bed. What we're going to do now is we're going to run the layer over the soil surface without laying plastic. We're just going to form the shape of the bed. Sometimes this makes a firmer, fuller bed, and it makes it a little bit easier to come back and lay the plastic. Our drip tape is mounted on this roller, and we'll start by sliding this disc off like so. When loading our drip tape, it's important to make sure that the emitters are facing up. Most drip tapes will be like this. They'll have a colored side with a stripe down it, and this colored side is the side that the emitter is located on. The emitter is a small little slit spaced periodically along the drip tape. This is where the irrigation water actually comes out. We have the emitters facing up to resist clogging. The idea being if there's any sediment in the line that it's heavier than water and it will sink to the bottom and it won't clog the emitter. And then we will install our drip irrigation tape roll onto this spindle all the way against the other discs. And then we will replace this disc onto the spindle. Snug enough to keep it from moving too much, but not so tight as it won't unroll as we're going down the row. And then we tighten this back up like so. Then the drip tape itself is threaded down through this guide and into this tube, and then down into the drip tape guide. Continue to thread the tape down through this receptacle until it comes out the bottom where our helper will be waiting to grab that drip tape and pull it on out. First thing I would like to make you aware of is that this is a step that you should take your time when you're doing it, because if you make a mistake, then you might have to pull out the entire row of plastic and you're wasting material and you're wasting money there. So relax, take your time with this step. It's very important to do that. This is a 4-foot roll of black plastic here. This particular plastic is a 1 mil thickness, equivalent to 1/1000th of 1 inch. So this is very thin material. Plastic will vary in thickness up to 2 mil. This 1 mil material is standard for most vegetable type production. Moving back this way, these are our rollers which support the roll of plastic itself, this particular machine will accommodate either a 3-foot wide or a 4-foot wide roll of plastic. It's set for a 4-foot roll right now. How to accommodate a 3-foot roll, you would move these paddles, which are on either side, in closer, and they would fit snugly around your 3-foot roll of plastic. It's important to make sure that your plastic layer will accommodate the size plastic that you want to use. Now we're ready to load our 4-foot roll of plastic onto this layer, and we will take the plastic and thread it down between these upper 2 rollers, and we'll pull out a length of plastic, threading it underneath the bottom rollers. And it's important that the plastic unroll from the forward side of the roll versus coming out from underneath the roll. Next, we'll take the plastic and drip tape, and we will pull a length back toward the rear of the layer, and we want to come back far enough to where we will clear the layer itself. It's important to make sure that your limbs and any extremities are clear of the layer itself when it comes down. So I will position the plastic here, and I will be watching out for my arms as the layer comes down. And your helper will keep the plastic pulled out under the press wheels themselves. And if that were to blow out of my hands or otherwise come loose for some reason, these will move up and down so you can reposition. It's important to have your helper hold on to the plastic and drip tape as you begin to lay the bed. Until the plastic is covered with a sufficient amount of soil, there will be a strong tendency for it to pull forward along with the tractor, so we have to have someone on the ground to help resist that. And as we've begun to lay this particular bed here, you'll notice that there's quite a bit of soil being thrown up on top of the bed itself. A few adjustments will be commonplace until you get everything set just right. In this particular case, we can counteract that by adjusting our soil shields, which we will do next. Our cover discs are set a little bit too sharp an angle, and also they're running a little bit too deep. So now we will adjust the angle and the depth of our cover disc, and once that's accomplished, when we continue on down the row, you should see quite a bit less soil being thrown onto the plastic, and also it will not run as deep and will provide us a little bit better coverage on the sides of the plastic. So once we reach the end of our row, we'll pull a little bit more plastic and drip tape out that we might need, and then cut that off. And what that will accomplish when it's time to lay our header line to connect our drip system up, it will make it a little bit easier if you have some extra tape and plastic to work with, like that.